All right, good morning and welcome to my channel. Looks like we're having some color issues with the lighting. All right, we're going to proceed. So this morning we're going to be talking about Section 8 inspections. This would be, for some of you, call it a HUD inspection. Others may call it a housing authority inspection. We're going to get into the details of that today, and I'm going to keep this very brief. So as a matter of record, a lot of people make videos, and a lot of the folks out here are landlords, and sometimes they're house flippers and so on. Look, that's a matter of opinion. I'm an expert in this area. I know precisely what's supposed to happen in respect to that. So one thing that I'm going to do is provide you with the actual manuals today. That will help you be able to disseminate the information for yourself, and will give you an accurate picture of the guidelines at both at the federal and state level. So what you can do is in the description of the video, if you go to the bottom, you'll see 3 links. And the first one I'm going to provide you in the live chat is going to be the Section 8 inspection manual. So this is a link I'm putting in the live chat. And there we go. That link can be found in the description as well. The second one we're going to do is the inspection form. And I'm putting that in live chat. Again, this can be found in the description of the video. Third thing I'm going to do is a Section 8 inspection checklist. And here we go. In live chat, and paste, and done. All right, so those 3 can be found. Now remember that the results from each housing authority and their inspection criteria can change slightly. We're going to go over a particular scenario of inspections for both tenants and landlords from both perspectives. All right. So before we get too deeply into this, I was going to do an introduction of myself. I am the owner of Section8Consultant.com. I work with around 200 plus landlords every year, all across 50 states. In addition to that, I work with between 700 to 1,000 tenants across the U.S. as well. One of the main things that I work with landlords is with professional advice, landlord packets, housing authority incentives, owner certification, some of the tax structures that you're going to be required in order to do your direct deposit and proof of business, management agreements, tenancy addendums, housing quality inspections, that's what this video is going to be about. And by the way, remember that acronym HQS, or housing quality inspection, because that's really what this is. Just for the purpose of the video, I've just kind of used keywords that I think that most people recognize. Rent reasonableness, tenant eligibility and rent procedures, family obligation agreements, the entire operational manuals for HCB. Look, as a landlord, you need to know as much as your tenants, and same thing for the tenants. Again, let's go back to all these other videos. Tips, tricks, and opinions is really what it should be. These are obvious attempts at small landlords and house flippers to make videos to, I don't know, maybe earn a wooden nickel. But the reality of it is, unless you have those operational manuals and understand the complete federal guidelines for it, then that advice is only good if you decide to move in their little neighborhood where they may own a couple of houses, okay? Beyond that, I think we were talking about payment standards. HQS inspection deficiencies requests, recertification dates, notice of contract termination, move in and move out inspection forms, and notice of intent to vacate. So there's a number of things that you need to learn besides this as a landlord, and also dealing with an HQS. So I have posted a lot of information throughout our videos, how you can reach out to us at Section 8 Consulting. And again, I apologize for the lighting. I don't know what in the world's going on, but we look pretty bright today. So, all right. What I'm going to do is we're going to go through a scenario with the HQS, and we're going to discuss some of the features of it. And I've prepared some notes for everybody, and then I'm going to answer some questions in the live chat. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the initial inspection of the rental unit will be generally conducted between 15 and 30 days. Do realize either extraordinary times, pandemic, and other issues going on. There is a small opportunity in some states and some counties where they're too busy and understaffed, and in that case, you'd be self-certified. So what is certification? It's a housing quality inspection with a worker standing in your door jamb, in your door well or doorway, and they ask you what's on the list and if everything is okay. If you approve, then it is done. That could be the tenant, or the landlord. Roughly 70% of housing authorities, in my opinion, are still doing it in that fashion. So they're not coming in and actually doing the inspections yet, out of safety for their own health. Anyways, moving on. As a list of required repairs will be provided by the landlord. Once repairs have been made, the inspector will re-inspect the unit and verify that it now meets the housing quality inspection. So, let me give you what I believe would be an accurate picture, because I do work with small landlords, 1 to 5 units, maybe 10, and also work with landlords with 100 units, 2, 3, 4, and 500. Okay, one landlord's got over 10,000 units, so I do know. So, the reality of it is a lot of what does fail is going to be nitpick things that you wouldn't even think about. Blinds not having the rod to close them. Um, you have outlets without base plates and so on. It's usually never the bigger issues. So you should be prepared for the petty ante stuff. From a tenant perspective, it's always going to be about pest control, and it's generally going to be about whether or not you're cluttering the home, that you're not giving a free and passable space during a fire, and those of you that put too much garbage on top of your stove and other electrical equipment that would cause a fire hazard tends to be the higher ratio of failure for the tenant side. Anyways, going on. So, annual inspection. Inspections will be conducted at least annually for participants remaining in the rental unit beyond the first initial year. The free inspection allows the owner to know how well the tenant is doing and caring for the unit. Both the landlord and the tenant benefit from maintaining the dwelling in a decent, safe, and sanitary condition. If you are a landlord, you would be wise to put addendums in your lease that would require that you do a maintenance inspection at minimum quarterly. Every quarter year, you're walking through there and making sure there's not a leaking pipe in the ceiling, that your tenant is too lazy to report, that could cause massive damage, and vice versa. So this is a double-edged sword. You must practice protecting your investment, because different people have different ideas about priorities, especially reporting repairs and ongoing damage. The annual inspection, and the inspector will determine if any repairs are necessary and the responsibility of who it may be, whether it's the landlord or the tenant. The family is responsible for correcting the failures caused by non-payment of utilities for which the family is responsible for paying. In other words, leaving the utilities off and possibly destroying the ice box from rotting food and so on. For failure to provide and maintenance of, for failure to provide or maintain appliances, the owner does not provide under the lease for damages beyond normal wear and tear and caused by the household members or guests. Remember that your people that come into that unit, your guests, you're responsible for their liabilities to your property that you're renting. The owner is responsible for the failure of damage and cause of normal wear and tear. The landlord tenant may be provided with a list of required repairs. Each party will have 24 hours for emergency repairs and 30 days to complete non-emergency items, and to contact the housing authority for a reinspection. If a reinspection does not pass within the time period or any extension, the following actions could potentially be taken. For a tenant, the responsibility of failures or termination of the participants' rental assistance. This places the responsibility on tenants to minimize and repair damages above wear and tear that they have caused to the rental unit in order to keep their rental assistance. For the landlord, the responsibility of failures, abatement of the rental unit assistance payment from the housing authority until either the unit passes or gets a reinspection, um, or the housing assistance payments contract is terminated. Abatement means that the housing authority's share of the rent is to be paid to the owner. Is not to be paid to the owner, since the unit does not meet the minimum housing quality standard as required by the contract. The contract refers, and what they mean by that, you'll want to remember this term, is HAP or HAP contract. The tenant is not responsible for paying the portion of the rent and may not be evicted for non-payment of the housing authority share. I want to reiterate, the tenant is not responsible for paying that portion of the rent and may not be evicted for non-payment. Look, you run a slum property, you're not fixing things, you're going to be in trouble. Okay, you could end up on a free lease, and the judge will find in favor of the tenant, and you will end up with them in there paying no rent, and it will be mandated by the court as a consequence, and also as a form of compensation to the tenant. Special inspections may also be done during the year in response to complaints. A supervisory control inspection may be done in order to ensure inspections performed accurately and consistently with other inspectors. Frequently inspected and failed items. So let's talk about that one real quick. Owners are strongly encouraged to repair items before scheduling inspections so the unit passes the first time. Special attention should be given to the following items I'm talking about right now. The ceiling, repairing any crack, plaster, or holes, repair of water damage, and the correct sources of a leak. And you should also note that if there's any black mold, you're really going to get yourself in deep trouble with that. Doors, cabinets missing doors, knobs, locks, stops, and loose or missing thresholds must be repaired and replaced. Sliding door, closet doors must have guides. Um, so now we're going to go into electrical. 100 amp meter is required, 70 amps in integral panels. Now, that's an electrical requirement that may change city to city. So again, we're doing as an example here. Fixtures that are present must work. Broken outlet cover base plates must be replaced, and the exposed wiring must be covered and count. Hood fan wiring and wiring below 8 feet must be guarded or enclosed. Light fixtures must have bulbs and covers. There must be a working exhaust fan in the bathroom without a window. The unit must have a cooling system and heating. Now, onto the floors, torn, damaged, cracked, or missing tiles. Linoleum must be repaired and replaced. Carpeting should be cleaned. Torn, damaged, or severely worn carpeting must be replaced. Uh, Now we're going to move on to garbage. Garbage, debris, and vegetation. The unit and the yard must be free of heavy accumulation. Now, this is not in regards to those of you renting an apartment complex, but private homes, duplexes, and so on. The unit and yard must be free from heavy accumulation of debris and such garbage, such as piles of trash, discarded furniture, and a lot. The unit must contain adequate facilities for disposal of food waste, and covered trash cans or and elect dumpsters. Trees and grass must not have contact with the unit. In other words, you can't have the grass go up the side of the house. Look, you need to build addendums for the trash so there's a clear understanding between you and the tenant. Moving on from there, handrails. Handrails are required for flights of 4 or more stairs and must not be broken or cracked. When I mean 4 or more flights, I mean 4 or more steps. Okay? Not flights, steps. Locks, as required by law in each different state. Now, an entrance door other than the sliding glass door must be equipped with a deadbolt lock. Interior doors may only have privacy locks. Next up is going to be plumbing and fixtures, repair and leaking faucets and clogged drains, repair, seal, and you'd want to seal chip porcelain sinks, basins, and tubs, install tub and basin stoppers. Refrigerator. If the owner provides refrigerator, it must be clean with no missing or broken shelves. The kick plate must be in operating condition. Screen must be present on all windows regardless, and that's a rule in every state. Smoke detector must be at least one working smoke detector for each living level. Stoves, ovens, oven doors, stove burners must operate properly, and the stove's knobs must be in a good place. Gas stoves must be covered and connected with flex hose. A hand controlled gas cutoff valve must be provided, and that's also plumbing code. An overhead exhaust fan is required in all situations. Utilities must be on the inspection. Sorry, utilities must be on so the inspector can determine whether the appliance and electrical components are properly functioning. Walls, repair the walls. So we're going to be talking about holes, peeling, cracking, blistering, and for both the interior and exterior of the unit. Repair and installation of baseboard molding when there is gaps between the wall and the floor. In other words, you need to have it down there if your carpet is not against the wall. Water heater. Water must have a pressure relief valve and extension to within 6 inches of the floor. In other words, that's the air gap. Pipe goes out, it goes down. Must be an air gap of that much between that and the drip pan. Your plumber would likely know that. Hand controlled gas cutoff valve are already required by all states when it comes to plumbing, so that is a code. And then the water heater must have. Let's see, we already went over went over that. Last thing we're going to talk about is going to be the windows. Repair, replace cracked, broken, missing, or boarded up windows. Windows must operate properly and be able to be locked. So I'm going to stop there because I believe that's the short list. There's a longer list, and that's why I did provide those manuals for you guys, including the inspection list. Man, that was a mouthful. You see why I had to take some notes just to give it to you. So the reality of it is, from the tenant perspective, you have to maintain it. If you're in collusion with the owner and just not doing anything, and you've got your hoarder, you're stacking things, you're causing a situation that is unhealthy, uninhabitable, a situation where there can be fire. In other words, you need to clean that shit up before the inspector gets there. Okay, nobody wants to see it. And also, you could end up proving that you have, if you do get in that situation where your house is tore up and you're actually trying to have an inspection, that you can prove that you're not showing mental capacity, and then other remedies can be used against you. Keep everything clean. Make sure that all the appliances are free. Do not store your bread and your donuts and everything else atop the microwave. If it has a cord attached to it, okay, don't put nothing on top of it, at least for the purpose of the inspection. Make sure all the plumbing and water is going down the drain, and make sure that you're properly cooling the unit, including the functionality of the freezer and the ice box. Uh, Doors and windows should be appropriately sealed. You shouldn't have flies and everything else rolling around. Now, I understand that landlords and tenants do go back and forth about pest control, rats, mice, ants, and so on. But if you can't show fair notice to the landlord that you've actually been putting in maintenance requests to do so, then you're in collusion and you're in violation of your own HAP contract. So then that makes both you and the landlord slummy. Okay, let's be honest. Let's just be damn well honest. You gotta do something. So, all right. So I want to say hello to a few people here. Again, this is a live chat. So Tabitha Bedford, hello and good morning. How are you, Mister? Welcome back, brother. How are you today? Good morning, Jay, in chat. Queen Joe SJ, and she goes on to say, Jay, do you help with Section 8 apartments for your clients? So, part of our HAP contract, and most of y'all know we've moved to a very large contract. It's around 10 pages. I'm not in the industry, so you would need to be a licensed broker or a real estate agent to go out there and to find people apartments. It's extraordinarily time consuming. It would require a great number of calls. What I do is provide sources to my clients that I've contentiously collected over the years that I believe that are the best method for housing search, but it would be cost prohibitive for me to sit there and pretend to be a real estate agent and go out there and try to call all these places. I would only be able to take on a few clients every month if I did that. So unfortunately, I don't do apartment searches and all that stuff. I think the primary goal of my services on the tenant side is to get you to the point of the voucher where you're holding your hand. And I think it from the landlord side is apprising you of the many things that can absolutely go wrong and how to be the best kind of landlord that you need to be. That you have proper addendums in your lease, that you understand all the different things that are going on, that you're clearly doing more than just interviewing for an application. There are all kinds of tenants. And look, when you're in a hurry and you throw your house on the market and you don't watch out who you're running to, it's the same whether it's a market rate, person with a job or a person with a voucher. If you get desperate because you can't pay your mortgage, and you'll just take anybody that'll tell you sweet little lies in your ear, and I can assure you, you're going to get railroaded with that, okay? There are bad tenants on both sides. So you need to have a fine understanding of what you're doing before you're doing it. And for a lot of you landlords, you're trying to invest and put properties on the market to collect vouchers when you don't even understand what rent reasonableness is. And the many things that go with this. I know that I just gave out a long list at the beginning of the video as a cautionary tale. So let's look at it from this perspective. There's no more risk involved with a voucher than it is a normal tenant. When a person goes bad, they just go bad. Same thing with a landlord. There's as many videos about slumlords as there are about bad tenants, okay? The one thing you can do is you can actually, through proper understanding and understanding how the system actually works, you could negate you could limit your liabilities by working with a consultant, because we already know all the conceivable things can happen. You can build in addendums to protect yourself from all the unfortunate situations. A lot of you prefer to learn the hard way as a landlord. You get out there and you get involved, and then it goes badly because you didn't know anything, you didn't take the time, and then you end up in a court battle, and that's because you didn't even build out your lease right. You don't understand the proper screening procedures. Look at somebody's credit score and stuff like that, and their past rental history isn't going to tell you jack about how they're going to treat your unit, okay? So there's a whole lot of different things that need to be looked at that are not standard to what you're used to as far as normal standard market rate clients. What do I mean by market rate? Market rate is normal, just normal renters, no voucher, people with a job. Again, the odds and the percentage and ratios are about the same. I would say if you do a good job, then your rate of deficiency would be around less than 1%. My landlords that think they know everything they usually call me after they're in deep, and they usually have a deficiency rate of around 7 to 14%. Another thing I tell you, landlords, you get incentives through a lot of housing authorities. You could end up making you thousands of dollars just for a lease up. There's lots of things that could be addressed to make this a really good investment. And then HUD has changed the rules now about FMRs or SAM pairs or the rent reasonableness, and now they're no longer looking at the whole cities for rent reasonableness. They're looking at zip codes. In other words, they're getting more and more articulated in the neighborhood. So, as you may know, 3 streets may have a bunch of really cheap homes, and then 3 streets over from that may have a bunch of homes that are more valuable. So now they're really able to start to focus in very carefully on what the rent reasonableness should be, almost street by street, which is a good thing and a bad thing, I think. These are also extraordinary times where a lot of the homes have been bought up. We talk about a housing bubble. It's nothing like 2007. 2007 is we sold a bunch of subprime mortgages and to people and their pets and their birds and the cockroaches in their house. And we gave those mortgages out to the poodles, okay, as a joke. But you see the point. They let any idiot with a credit score of 1 get one. And then the market failed. They sold those subprimes on the market. What we're going through now is much different. This is what we call FOMO, fear of missing out. The FOMO thing is the prices are rising. So people continue to buy houses until there's nothing left in the market. Because nothing is on the market, it actually increases the demand. Because the demand has been increased, now nobody has a place to go and rent. Also, the other logic that's built into this is what was once just your home and inexpensive and just had basic value, now that home is worth 3-4 times more because of all the FOMO, fear of missing out. And so people want to sell these homes now rather than rent them. They want to evict everybody with a voucher. Hey, my house suddenly this year is worth 5 times as much. Let me evict everybody and then sell the house and make the most money I've ever seen. So there's a lot of dynamics working, but this is definitely not the same kind of housing bubble we had in 2007. That was completely different. So I thought I'd bring it up because I think it's interesting when you look at that in perspective. We have a real housing shortages. We have high interest rates for those that want to purchase a home and pay 7%. You think about that, it could end up costing up to $250,000 just in interest paying the bank. That's you driving down the highway, and then that's you throwing out money out there. That's you standing in front of the toilet and then flushing your money to the tune of a couple $100,000. Okay, whether you're the buyer or you're the landlord. These are serious times. Interest rates crazy. Not only that, but you're attempting to buy houses in a market where you know that we're 30 to 40% over market. In a lot of areas around the U.S., that means essentially the house that you buy today, when you get 10 years from now, so 2022 to 2023, you're going to think, okay, well, I put the house on the market, maybe I'll make some money. No, you didn't. You actually overpaid for your house. So the last 10 years, you earned nothing. Now you're just breaking even. Don't be a fool. Don't be a fool. All right, so I've enjoyed talking to you this morning about this a little bit, and I think we're going to wrap up the video. That's enough said about HQS. And again, I want to give you those links, and the links again are in the description. So that's the best way to get the information you need is to actually read the actual operational manuals for this. So let me give it to you again in live chat. See if I still have them here. Section 8 inspection manual. I'm going to post that live in here. And that link that just went live, that can be found in the description. The next link I'm going to give you guys is going to be the inspection form. And that link is now live in the live chat and also in the description. One more link. Section 8, checklist. Checklist. I like that. Copy. These are all PDFs. And paste. These are not tips and tricks, okay? I don't do that. I'm not giving you opinions. This is facts. Strict facts. Facts that come directly from the government, okay? So you make your own choice about these videos out here that are giving tips and tricks and bullshit. Okay. You either get the factual basis part, it's just nonsense, period. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a link for those of you that are interested in not traveling the path of being a landlord alone and not making some of the fatal errors that I see with a lot of clients. Then I'd suggest you give the consultant. It doesn't have to be me. You know, that's nobody's suggesting that you need to hire me for anything, but I'm going to give you that information anyways. So I'm going to give you information, appointments, prices, and our website. We are registered with the Secretary of State, EIN, DBA, insurance, and you check it out for yourself. Got lots of reviews, around 200. All right, guys, I've enjoyed talking with you. I think we'll readdress again Sunday, and I may make a landlord video or I may make a tenant video. Either way, it's useful in these times because, as far as I can tell, everybody's desperate for housing. Landlords are fed up with people with jobs because they can't keep them. So I find that something very interesting has happened through the pandemic. Landlords used to not like vouchers. Now they've damn near lost their own properties because they couldn't pay the mortgage because of people that had jobs. Now they find the vouchers more preferable. Why? Because the government's check always cashes, you know. And during a pandemic, with jobs coming and going, the people that have always been the staple of the picture of being a good tenant are no longer good tenants. You don't even know if the people that have jobs are going to keep it next week. So there's one surefire way to do really well in this. That's dealing with people with a Section 8 voucher. And it's even better if they're retired because that means they receive 2 government checks. One check they're getting, which is a discount, is that voucher. That covers, 80%? And if they're receiving Social Security disability, or survivor benefits, then it's a damn near guarantee that the tenant will never miss their rent. Okay? And that's for those that are 62 and older. So, all right. I think that's it. And it looks like Shirley Griffin just popped in, and good morning and hello to you. I'm going to actually take the rest of my day off because our company is closed today. And I think that I'm going to do something, something to relax, I guess. But I'm pretty sure you guys will hammer me on the email. So, all right, guys, I'll see y'all when I'm back in the off Friday, and y'all enjoy your day. Bye-bye.